Hi, Kyle.
Hi Nathan,
How you doing?
you enjoying quarantine?
Yeah, I'm having a great time. I'm happy and I'm healthy, and life isn't getting me down.
Same actually. This is kind of just the par for me.
I am the best around.
Like no one ever
Like
was.
no one ever was, and no one ever will be.
What have you been getting up to?
You know what? Nothing much, Kyle. This is just a regular episode, isn't it?
Hopefully,
Regular old.
I was asking in the hopes of prompting some kind of conversation about what you'd been
Well,
doing.
this is just a small chit chat to get us into it. What do we do? It's been so long since we've done a regular old ep that I don't know what we talk
I
about.
feel like we say that every single regular episode.
Yeah, because we do a bunch of specials. No, so I haven't been doing much. I have been playing Fortnite. No surprise there. Playing some
Shocker.
COD of Duty. No surprise there really. Well, I'm playing less of it. I never finished that battle pass. That was wasted money. And academic spheres have basically shut down now, so I'm done with that. It's been really, Kyle. There's been nothing in my life that has been worthy of pod.
Well, I've been using this time to go back through some of my backlog of games
Yeah.
for achievements that I've been meaning. So I've been playing such gems as Joyride Turbo,
Oh, the classic.
Mario Kart ripoff with Xbox avatars.
Yes, the classics.
The Toy Story 3 video game.
Oh, nostalgia.
What was the one I was playing yesterday? Like Matchbox Toy Ride.
I should say
something
I'm
like
being
that.
entirely facetious. I've never heard of any of these games.
No, I didn't think so. I think all of those were games with gold games.
Oh, right, okay. I should have done my due diligence and downloaded them.
It's a mixed bag. It's an achievement hunter's lot in life. You play some gems, you play a lot of crap, but
Well, I can kind of contribute to the gaming discussion because I just got a Nintendo Switch Lite.
Well, so you did. I'm very confused about this. You've never struck me as a Nintendo person.
Well, shall we?
We shall.
I have it
Let's.
sitting across the room. I don't have it sitting in front of me. I got anyone can find pictures of them easily enough. They're on Amazon or Google. I got the grey Nintendo Switch Lite, so I didn't want the coral kind of reddy pink. I didn't want the yellow. I didn't want the turquoise. I just went for grey. It suits my scheme. My entire bedroom looks like a battleship, so it fits the aesthetic very well. Nice white buttons, and I thought, what, everyone's buying it. Everyone's got or buying a Switch. More and more people in my sphere specifically have recently got one due to Animal Crossing. And they actually got the the proper Nintendo Switch that you can, plug into a television.
The one that's actually a
Yeah,
Switch.
the one that's actually a Switch. And they got like the Animal Crossing limited edition version. And they're very, very happy with the purchase. And we have, friend of the show, Ryan.
Of course.
He's been egging people on to get one for a while. Because he just, he doesn't have, he's got a few friends he's got that plays it, but not enough. So more and more of us over this quarantine period have been thinking we'll get one, and maybe for travel and stuff that it will become more handy. Because I'll tell you right now, Kyle, after buying it, and I also bought some AirPods from Apple, I have no money and no I have no money to really delve into buy games with. I was actually going to buy Animal Crossing because I'd heard so much about it. Everyone's been talking about it, and I watched some YouTube Let's Plays, but everyone keeps asking me, are you sure, Nathan? Is it your game? Do you think you'll like it? And I thought, sure, it can't be that bad. And I've been watching Let's Plays, and I haven't said I'm not getting it yet, but I have put it off until I get paid next, because I don't want to invest that money to a wasted game. I'll wait until I've got money to spend first.
I really, it doesn't seem like your kind of game. I got to be honest with you. You're going to be that guy in the article I shared yesterday. I called it a stupid baby game.
Well, I mean, people really enjoy it, and they say it's really relaxing, and I think I wouldn't like it if I was playing it on my television or on an Xbox, but I think just for in my hand, I don't know, I think I could get it. And also I'd get Mario Kart and your usual games for a Switch or for a Nintendo thing. I haven't owned a Nintendo console of any form since the Wii and the Nintendo DSi.
I've never owned a Nintendo console, which is weird because I'm such a big gamer.
That is strange. I feel like everyone did you never have like a DS, no?
Nope.
Oh, yeah, that is weird. Yeah. Because I remember you always your PlayStation or your Xbox, that was your home big console. But when you were going to school and it was playtime, if it was raining, everyone brought out the DS. That's what you did.
No, I never had one. I sat there and I probably drew something. I don't remember primary school.
Well, so I thought I still have my DSi. I found it recently, and it still has a charge. I've not had it on in years. It's like a Nokia brick, and I thought, oh, this is all the memories. So it's got a camera on it. It's a bunch of pictures I took forever ago when I was a kid. Now, you know what? It's time. The time is to upgrade.
The future is now, old man.
The future is now, old man. But because, again, I have no money because I bought the Switch, I don't have enough money to buy games, really, because I want to keep my money for food, you know? I have essentially spent £200 British to play Fortnite on a small television. Because
you didn't even buy a new game yet.
Oh yes, no. So I have. There's a lot of sales on Nintendo Store right now because I'm trying to also go all digital for this console. I don't want to buy a single cartridge. And I was in the store and I was looking through games that I thought I could like. There was a Mario versus the Crazy Rabbit people. It was like a Kingdom Clash game for them.
Oh sure, the one they did a crossover with Ubisoft.
Yeah, and that was quite cheap. But I thought, nah, I don't know. Like, it looks interesting, but something about it just didn't. I thought, oh, this looks like it's going to be quite multiplayer intense. I didn't go on YouTube and look at anything. I just looked at the trailer.
I don't think it is. I think it's a single player kind of XCOM style game.
Oh right, yeah, 'cause it did look like a turn based game, but I thought this looked like it is going to be like, you know, what's the paint one? What's the paint game?
Oh, Splatoon.
Yeah, Splatoon.
No,
I thought it was going to look
That's
like
a completely
Splatoon.
different kind of game.
So I thought, oh, this is going to have PvP elements in it, and I don't really want to play it with. So I put it off, and I ended up for the low price of 99p with 50% off. I bought like an architectural game, like a puzzle game, and it's all black and white. I can't remember the name of it, so you can see how much I'm invested in it. And everything's like monochrome. Everything's like the Nicolas Cage Spider-Man from Spider-Verse. Everything's just black and white. And there's nice music and it's very kind of atmospheric, and you're walking around and it's kind of like Portal without the portals. You've got these puzzles to figure out. You've got to charge up these cubes and place them on platforms to open doors so you progress through the game. It looks like it's going to be quite a short game, but apparently the puzzles are quite complicated. I haven't got stuck yet though.
I think I've seen that game on the Xbox Marketplace. I can't remember what it's called though.
Well, in the description it heavily mentions, you get to get some puzzles and there's some lovely architecture to look at on your way and there's nice reflective surfaces. I think the game is actually quite aesthetically pleasing. But again, and because I have the grey Switch light, the colour art style of the game suits that perfectly. It's like just the entire device is incapable of producing colour.
You've got an ancient artifact Switch.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've got. So I think at some point I will buy your Mario Kart. I'll buy your Animal. I think I'm going to fall to peer pressure and buy Animal Crossing. If I hate it, I just get to shout at everyone, and everyone will call me crazy.
What about Zelda, the most famous Nintendo game ever?
So I think I am going to buy that. What, Breath of the Wild? Is that one that?
That's the one.
That's the one. I think I might end up getting it. The screen is slightly smaller on this than it is in the regular Switch, but the whole reason I got a Lite, by the way, I should say, is now it's £100 cheaper. But
that's a good reason.
Yes, that is a very good reason. But if you buy a Switch Lite, you don't need to share with people. Big thing. If you have a Switch, you can take off a controller and you can give it to your chum or your a younger family member that comes to your house, and they can chew it, they can break it, they can.
You don't have, to be fair.
But in these Corona days, it makes it even less likely. But I have like family friends with the young kids and stuff or whatever.
If I was gonna get a Switch, I'd also have to buy an actual controller. I can't stand those little handheld things. I know you can get actual controllers.
Yeah,
for the Switch.
you can get actual controllers for the Switch. I don't know if it's compatible with the Lite, but maybe it is. I think the actual controller is meant for when you've docked it with the television.
Yeah.
But this can't dock with the TV, so it's just a single unit, and it is a lot. Actually, that's also a point. Not sharing with someone is a big thing, but the whole idea of it being one single unit is a lot more appealing to me as well. The thing that always kind of looks a bit. I think the Switch is a great console in concept, but I don't like the kind of how modular it all feels. I don't like the plug and play. Like the fact a controller can maybe just slide off, especially when it becomes worn if you used it a lot. And I don't like how loosey that can all see, and if you throw it, it can shatter like a Lego kit. It just isn't for me. The thing, but
unlike a big bulky Xbox controller.
yes, but
oh man, can we talk about the PlayStation controller?
Well, we totally can when I'm done. Yeah, because I'm just about to wrap up here with the Switch thing. But the thing about the Lite is it's a single unit. I could throw it. Why would I? But I could, and it isn't gonna shatter into little.
And in a heated gamer moment.
In a heated gamer moment where I lose at a game of Mario Kart or I don't catch a fish in Animal Crossing.
Exciting stuff. You'll have to report back on your experiences with the Switch, because it's one of these things that I'm eternally considering getting.
The PlayStation 5 controller.
Oh god, can you explain to me why? Do you know why?
So, could I give you some background and my thoughts on it first?
Sure.
At first, I thought, this isn't great. And I thought, this is an awfully queer design choice they've made. Why have they done it? But I never thought it was horrifically monstrous, like the look of the camera in the iPhone 11 or something. But see, as I've had time to just let it wash over me, I don't think it's awful. I'm in the same position I was when I first saw it, but instead of leaning negatively, I'm leaning positively. I don't hate
You're
it.
shocking me right now.
I still think the Xbox controller will always be the superior layout, design, all the rest of it. But I actually don't hate the PlayStation 5 controller. I'm still buying an Xbox, obviously. The controller would never be a make or break. But I don't know, I don't hate it, and I wonder if part of it is for the heavy customization that it opens up to. All that negative space doing nothing. And obviously Boss Logic done some fan concepts of what customized variants could look like. And you know what? You look, it looks like you can pretty heavily customize that controller.
I mean, I guess so. You can heavily customize any controller, though.
I don't know if there's much space on an Xbox controller for big custom, because there isn't any. The Xbox controller has very limited wasted space, which from a production standpoint is amazing. It's a great controller, but I don't think you can customize it that heavily. I know they have the design lab, but that's just colours.
You know what I first thought when I saw it? Before every console comes out, there's these people who make up nonsense.
Yeah. The Xbox 720.
What the console might look like, and for the Xbox it'll be a big orb of the Xbox logo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I immediately thought it was one of them.
Oh, so
just some sort of abstract fan art concept.
You thought it was fake because it looked too horrific to be true?
Yes. It looks like something that you would design for the future in that kind of, this is what the future will look like style.
Yeah. So I saw it first through Sony, so I knew it was real. I honestly, I will say it did catch my attention. The unfortunate thing about Xbox having perfected the controller, is that they can't do reveals of controllers because we all know it's going to be the same, because don't fix it if it ain't broken. But PlayStation...
It's ever so slightly different. It has a new button.
Yeah, it's got a direct media button, which is befuddling, but it doesn't ruin it, it's just an extra thing. Sure, why not? But the PlayStation controller can because it isn't perfect, they're always trying to perfect it. Like when you go back to the PlayStation 2, R1, R2, L1, L2, they weren't, the L2 and R2, they aren't triggers, they're just big buttons at the back. Whereas now, as we've progressed to PlayStation 3 and definitely 4, triggers are now the norm. Xbox has pushed triggers through at the back of the controller as the mainstream. Now when you play a game, you don't press square or X to shoot, you holding the trigger.
You pull the trigger like a gun.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that they are going to be constantly trying to perfect this to get it to somewhere where the consumers are broadly happy with it. Because I don't think people were too happy. Obviously, they're fine with it. We're at the end of this generation now. People aren't complaining anymore about it. But I don't think people were overly happy with PlayStation 4 controller.
it brings us to the more broad question, which is how do you think the next gen of console wars is going to play out?
I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but I wonder if we're kind of done with that.
See, I wonder that too, and then I think about it more, and I think, no, that can't possibly be true. There's always going to be stuff like that.
So, for the console wars potentially persisting for eternity, I mean, it's been rough this generation being an Xbox fan. We've had a hard time of it. PlayStation have been doing, and I've said this before, but I don't know if I've said it on the show. Xbox, I believe, have a very different business model. They're not trying to do the same thing PlayStation is doing, and I don't think they're not trying to because, why should we even bother? But with their Game Pass thing, with their integration further into the PC, Xbox kind of blurring the lines, the cloud servers and stuff, and again, the monthly subscription to Game Pass and all that. It's
also their big focus on indie titles.
Yeah, I think if we haven't spoken about this before, we've definitely spoken about idea Xbox at nauseum. But yeah, so I genuinely think that Xbox aren't caring in the same way that traditionally fans have cared. Like, we've cared about who's getting the big games, and it's PlayStation that are performing to that fan expectation. But Xbox is a business, I think they're just not even bothering that. So they don't care about what we're saying in that regard, because that's not what they're trying to do. Maybe next generation they will, but that's definitely not the direction of the Xbox One ever since, I don't know, whenever the Game Pass probably officially launched.
There is becoming a point where the lines between consoles is kind of becoming irrelevant.
Yeah. I mean, more cross-platform is becoming more prevalent.
Yeah, Fortnite, big cross-platform game.
Minecraft
Other
now.
games are going that way. So it really just sort of, which controller do you want at this point?
I think it's coming more like a smartphone. Like, imagine if iPhones could only call iPhones. Like, essentially it will come down to different specs, like a PC, because all PCs are different.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, you're just buying a pre-programmed kit that a console is known to be, and then you can buy a game that's a third-party app, essentially, on the App Store, like Snapchat. That works on Android and iOS. But, it's up to what device you think will play it better, Some people have iPhones because they think it is the better specs. Some people have Androids, think it is the better ecosystem. It's completely down to the preference of the consumer.
Well, obviously, I'm stuck in the Xbox ecosystem now and forever.
Well, yes,
so.
now and for eternity, yeah. I mean, I have absolutely no desire to get a PlayStation 5. I have some friends who are big PlayStation people. They will buy the PS5 because they've been in since, we'll say PS2, but in terms of online, that didn't really matter until the PS3.
Sure, yeah.
So they've been in the PlayStation realm for a long time now, and they're just comfortable with it. And now that cross-platform is becoming more prevalent, that's even less of a reason. Now, I've got some friends that play PlayStation, and they'll play cross-platform titles with us, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Fortnite, quite a lot with us nightly. Every night we're on, and we're playing. Some of them are on PC as well, because Fortnite can PC, PlayStation, Xbox, even mobile. But why the hell would you do that? And they always say they are perfectly happy to play with us in these cross-platform titles, but the only reason they would buy an Xbox is to play that one game that they love so much, but it isn't cross-platform, and they want to play it with more friends.
Always that one game.
It's always that one game. So if it, like, for instance, I have other friends that they're actually considering buying a PlayStation, but they're not saying they're still going to buy the next generation Xbox, but they want to buy a PlayStation 4 after the PS5 comes out just to play the exclusives. They want to play God of War, they want to play Spider-Man, they want to play The Last of Us, but they don't care about having their primary console will be their Xbox, but they want to buy an old PS4 at a cheap price.
I'm kind of turning on exclusives as a concept at this point.
I mean, I don't think consumers particularly ever should have been particularly pro-exclusive. I think businesses from a profit-making point of view, exclusives make total sense. But from a consumer perspective, I know when we were younger we were all about the exclusives, but as a consumer, it's pretty shit,
Because you know where I'm at this point. Put MCC on PlayStation. Why not? Just do it. Who cares at this point?
It's on PC.
It's on PCs. Why not just put it on PlayStation now? All the games on it are over 10 years old.
Yeah, and you've already given them Minecraft, and that's owned by Microsoft.
You can't keep the people away from Minecraft.
There is
stupid.
So I'm actively going to contradict what I said about how exclusives are pretty, shitty for consumers. It's part of me, but maybe it's just because it's nostalgia. But part of me is like, I don't want PlayStation to have Halo.
That's a very selfish attitude.
It is a very selfish attitude. If you don't want to play Xbox, get a PC. Don't give it to PlayStation. But again, that's kind of, I'm holding on to Halo so tightly. I'm also shooting myself in the face with things like Spider-Man, with things like The Last of Us, with things, I don't play God of War, but that sort of idea. Or even the timed exclusives for things like Destiny or Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed, all these things that are play first on PlayStation.
It's very irritating. It's a dog's life for an Xbox gamer.
This generation anyway, If the console wars are to persist, and it's mental. I was just about to say something about how Xbox will have the more powerful console. Xbox does still have the most powerful console on the X, but I don't think people care.
No, the whole powerful thing is more of a PC gamer thing. For Xbox or just console players in general, they don't really care about that stuff. I find I don't normally care about that stuff. Apart from, I just started playing Rage 2, which is one of the games on my backlog.
Yeah.
And it's one of the only games I've ever seen where performance issues have started to bug me.
Is it still got performance issues on your Xbox One? Isn't Rage 2 from the 360?
No, Rage is from the 360. Rage 2 is from 2019, I think.
Oh, is it? Well, sorry, I'm way out.
But yeah, there's just some weird frame rate issues, a whole lot of, I don't know how to explain it, but it's that glitch where all the textures mess up and they're all super under-detailed. Yeah,
that happens in Fortnite sometimes with render distance. If you jump somewhere really quickly because you're spectating someone and the game hasn't loaded that part of the map in yet, so everything's really flat.
Yeah, I don't know what you call that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're referring to. The thing with the Xbox Series X, which I think is a horrible name, by the way, that is a discussion for another time, is that the big thing they're saying is how you can just load into games seamlessly now. You can have multiple games kind of stored in your RAM, and you can just kind of, if you activate Halo 6 or whatever, Halo Infinite, you don't need to wait for it. You don't need to go through the 343 Industries logo, then select campaign, and select resume. You just open it up and you're back in the level you stopped at. And you can seamlessly jump to Call of Duty or Fortnite or whatever at the same time. And I'm like,
I don't know how useful that's actually going to be for me.
How
often do you jump between 2 or 3 games at once like that?
Exactly, but I think it's more so meant to just be for when you decide to play it 2 days later, you can just pick up from where you left off.
If that works, then fine. But that just seems like it's going to be a horrible drain on your performance.
Well, they're talking about like something rendering, how everything can render in real time. I don't know. I'm not a technical person.
We're not tech experts. We're not PC gamers.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit fuzzy on the details, but they are talking about things that they don't load until you look at them. But when they look at them, they're kind of like instantaneously, so you're not backloading stuff before you play. You're only using the power you need to use. And
I sure hope that the new console comes with a 2 terabyte hard drive for all this.
I think,
because you know how big these games on the new next gen are going to be.
But they're also talking about cloud storage and how you can make your Xbox a server and that sort of thing on the One. I don't know. Maybe they won't have downloads anymore. Maybe everything would just be streamed. Like, what was that the Google console that they were trying to do that failed? Stadia.
Words cannot express how much I don't care about game streaming.
Well, if that were to become the norm one day, the cloud saved everything, it'd be interesting. To say the least, I think it would be interesting.
If your internet goes out and you can't play any games, that sounds awful.
Yes, that's the thing. Remember?
Do you remember when the Xbox One came out and you had to always be online?
Didn't they fix that pre-launch? But it was part of the reveal that they said that, and then people were like, "What if I'm on a military base or I'm in a nuclear submarine?" And they were like, "Well,
yeah,
don't be in a nuclear submarine."
It's ridiculous.
Xbox, I do think, they're trying to push technology. I feel like PlayStation, as a general company, I think they're very happy with just maximising the standard technology that's available to us already. But I do think Xbox are trying to make things and innovate and be new. You could say people aren't ready for that yet, but I do at least respect them for their trying new stuff. PlayStation's the safe option. Xbox is all experimental and artsy.
Oh well, I'm at the point in my life now where I probably could just buy both. It would be expensive, but
yeah, I have no desire to do that, because what if I'm playing whatever game you can possibly imagine that's available on both consoles? I pick Xbox, but why have I got a PlayStation just sitting there just for the exclusives? And even then, I only buy maybe 2 exclusives a year, so it spends most of the time sitting doing nothing.
There is a lot of exclusives, to be fair.
Yeah, but how many interest you?
A lot of them, like the Uncharted games, Spider-Man, Horizon Zero Dawn, but I think that might be getting an Xbox release later this year. I think. I could be completely wrong about that.
Also, with 365 days in a year, like, what are you playing most of? They're not coming out yearly.
I mean, you're right, obviously, but
I think it's a big drain.
Feel, I get that FOMO.
I think it's a horrific drain to just have it sitting there. I mean, what I talk about with the Switch, I'm still going to be playing the Xbox as my primary console, and I think the Switch will be more for out and about travelling. Not that I travel particularly a lot, but
I don't know what you mean by drain. Like, it's not sitting there eating your money. It's a one-time investment.
Yes, but how long is it going to take for that investment to effectively pay off?
It won't, because games also cost money, but that's just the way of things.
Because I feel like I've paid off my Xbox in terms of enjoyment, and I only got the S. I got the one in 2013, and I got the S when that came out. And what was that? 2017, 2018?
I don't know. I still have an original.
Yeah, good for you. I'm surprised it works.
It works perfectly fine
With your external hard drive that I don't have.
I think I've replaced the power brick twice already.
When is your ship of a thesising your Xbox? I do, by the way, an internal power brick. So I don't know why the standard Xbox One didn't ship with one. I feel like it was a conspiracy theory where they could have done it at launch, but then they wanted to give people a reason to upbuy a couple of years later. Because the power bricks in the Xbox One S and the X, and they're both smaller than the original Xbox One, and it fits perfectly. I actually couldn't imagine having a power brick anymore. It feels so
antiquated. Yeah. It's very loud, that's for sure. For some reason, it likes to squeal at me when I'm in the achievements menu for reasons that I don't understand.
One thing I think is bullshit about PlayStation, by the way, and they never get any shit for it. People just joke about it. The noise their fucking fan makes. A PlayStation 4 fan is notoriously loud, and it's obtrusive and it's obstructive, and it's not very fun if you're playing with someone on PlayStation, I can tell you. And no one on the Xbox side or the PlayStation side seems to think how disgraceful that sound is. It's so loud. It's stupid. Maybe it's because my Xbox is silent, but I couldn't accept that level. And when I'm hearing it right into
feelings are being revealed right now.
When I'm hearing it right into my ears, I'm like, why is no one talking about this? A friend who I play Fortnite with is on PlayStation, and he's got quite a sensitive microphone. His fan it's amazing. Crazy. I see some memes about it on Facebook sometimes, so I know it's not just an isolated issue. Like, it's a thing that the PlayStation fan is loud, but no one seems to think it's unacceptable. People just live with it.
That seems crazy. I hate it when my Xbox gets even a little bit too loud. Normally that's only temporary.
Yeah, sometimes it picks up a little bit, very briefly, and it stops. You're loading up an app and it's taking too long to load up. And then it opens up and it cools down. I had to vent, Kyle, I'm sorry. It was unacceptable.
Yeah, to fan.
Don't
laugh at that. That was a terrible joke.
I have some phone news I want to talk about.
Oh boy.
Apple just announced their new iPhone.
The iPhone 12?
The iPhone SE 2.
Oh, SE2, cool. I like the SE.
So everyone likes the SE. I love the SE. That was the phone I had before the X. I love the SE. Is lovely. It's a great time. And people are kind of also comparing it to be, it's kind of like a kit bash. So they're putting a lot of the technology within an iPhone 11 Pro into the case of an iPhone 8.
An iPhone 8?
So it doesn't have Face ID, it's still got bezels around the side, and it's got a fingerprint scanner on it. So they've moved the Apple logo from the top of the phone down to the middle, where all the new iPhones have their sticker or their engraving. I don't know.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's launching.
I like the SE because it's in the 5, and the 5 is objectively the best design they ever did.
The 5 is the best iPhone aesthetic. I think now, because I've got the X, I think it's a bit small now, the SE, but the style is chef's kiss. I love it. The iPhone SE Space Grey is great. It's a great look, great phone, great design, great proportions. Love it. So, and you know what this price tag for this new iPhone SE is?
Probably horribly expensive.
Remember, it has the tech of an 11 that ships for $1,000 in the case of an 8. This is shipping for $399.
Wow. Okay.
Absurdly cheap.
Yeah.
And normally brands like to, market themselves under being flagship killers.
Sure.
All their, they do kind of phones that are quite good, but they're a lot cheaper than your flagship phones. They've all just immediately been undercut by Apple's new SE, because this phone will probably be on par or maybe a little bit better than them, and it's a lot cheaper. And it has the same kind of screen technology. It's smaller, obviously. It's the size. I think it's the size of an 8. So it's smaller than the 11. Probably a little bit smaller than the X, I think, because again, it does have bezels because it doesn't have Face ID, so it's got to have the bit in the bottom for the thumbprint. I don't know why iPhone doesn't put the thumbprints under the glass, but I guess if you're using the case of an 8 to cut expenses, then you can't just reinvent that. And again, it's got all the stuff from an 11, and it's so cheap, and I'm amazed. I don't really like the look of an 8, to be honest with you. And I think I've got too used to Face ID to go back to the thick bezels on the side and the top and the bottom. I think it looks quite old. But if someone wants an iPhone that's brand new, will probably still be getting updates for the next 5 years, and it's only $400 relative to the price of other phones, I think that's a great deal.
It does seem pretty extreme.
I actually wouldn't be.
It kind of seems like they've undercut themselves.
Well, again, it doesn't have all the cameras that's in an iPhone 11.
Oh wow, that's a real.
What I've learned in my world because ever since I got the X, I've kind of been into the mobile phone market, just to casual observer. People in the mobile phone market really like their cameras. Now, for your average, I just want an iPhone that's, because I trust Apple. I like the iOS system. I know how to work an iPhone. I want the new one, but I don't want to spend $1,000. The SE is where you want to go. I would even consider getting it, but I've already made myself a promise that when it comes to get a new iPhone, I've got an X right now, I'm just going to get top tier iPhone of whatever's out at the time. Maybe I'm not talking about in memory or anything. I'm not going to upgrade from a 64 gigabyte to 128.
You're going to get the Pro, whatever the Pro is.
Yeah, whatever the Pro is, probably the base model of the Pro, but whatever the Pro is, the iPhone 12 Pro Max XL. And I'll get it in black or space grey. Anything you want to talk about?
Well, since the last time we did a normal episode, I've been Witchered out my nut.
Yeah, you were playing The Witcher quite a bit, weren't you?
So, last time we talked, I believe I was still playing through The Witcher 2.
I believe you were.
So I've now, finally, after 5 years, played The Witcher 3, famously the best game of all time.
Yes, it was never beat. Gaming peaked, apparently, according to newspaper reports.
So, you want my feedback on that, on the best game of all
time? The Witcher 3
stuff?
Best game of all time? Sure, it's on the Nintendo Switch.
I'm sure it is. I loved it. I'm not going to deny that, but it does have issues. It's not a perfect, flawless game.
How fucking dare you? Who are you?
Everyone.
Who are you? Question The Witcher 3 Best Game of All Time trademark.
Main issues, it's glitchy as fuck. There's just so many bugs in it, even all these years later. Which I'm sure isn't an issue for all you snobby PC players, but I'm not a snobby PC player, so...
We don't have adjustable frame rates.
We don't have mods that fix all the bugs.
We do on Fallout 4?
Fallout 4 and Skyrim. But those are the only games on the market that have mod support, which is amazing because Minecraft should absolutely have mod support. It's ridiculous.
We get fancy texture pack microtransactions.
Wow, very exciting. Off topic. And then the second thing is that the pacing of the second and third acts is a bit weird. It kind of feels a bit rushed. Other than that, though, it is a great game. I'm surprised that it's quite so popular because it has quite a high barrier to entry. Not in terms of difficulty, but in terms of understanding what's happening in the story. Because it's the third of a trilogy, but it's also a sequel to a book series. So there's many times where characters will show up and you're just expected to know who they are.
Oh no, not that. And see, if a film does that, we slate it for it.
It is strange. I don't know how well the game works if you've never experienced any other media, because I went into it having played the second game and watched the first season of the show. So I kind of had a framework for who's Yennefer and who's Ciri, but the game, maybe it does a good job of explaining who these people are, but it doesn't seem like it does to me.
If you I see if you were to play The Witcher 3 and not understand certain things because you didn't play The Witchers 1 and 2, then that's not the game's fault. That's the player's fault. But I think
Sure.
if it introduces things that aren't even in those games and it just expects you to grow with it, then I think that is the game's problem.
It does do that, and that's why it's confusing to me that it's quite so popular, because that's the other thing. After finishing The Witcher 3, I was hungry for more, so I played the spin-off of Gwent, Thronebreaker, which is...
Oh, I didn't know The Witcher had a spin-off series.
It has a spin-off. It has Gwent, which is a spin-off, which is basically Hearthstone. You know what Hearthstone is?
Is that the card game?
Yes.
Right.
So it's the Witcher card game. And then that game had a spin-off, which was the Witcher card game, but with a story mode.
Story mode?
Way better
in a
than
card
it has
game?
any right to be. Yeah. It's weirdly good in a way that it probably doesn't deserve to be. Given that description. And then after that, I'm still hungry, so what's the correct verb for experiencing an audiobook? Because it seems weird to say listening to a book.
I still say listening. I'll say sometimes I'll actually say I read this book, and then they'll say, "Oh, what print did you buy or something?" And I'll be like Stephen Fry, Audible.
It seems I listened to a book. For some reason, it sounds less real than you read it.
No, yeah, but I think that's just because snobby society says that you read a book with your eyes and your paper, but I think as society evolves, maybe that meaning is going to change. I listened to a book sounds strange, and whilst still being technically correct, you listen to someone reading you a book sounds too childish. I don't know. The tape versions of books have always existed in some form since the invention of the cassette. You could walk around with your Walkman with a cassette player, and you could turn the tape to side B to get the rest of the book.
Sure. It seems weird. Anyway, I've been listening to the Witcher book series.
How far are you in there?
I'm about halfway through book 2, and for anyone who knows, I haven't listened to the short stories because for some reason they're not available in Audible.
Oh my.
But it's fine because I watched the first season of the Netflix show, and that's basically an adaptation of the short stories.
Yes, I've heard different things regarding that. I mean, I've watched the Netflix series. The Netflix series must do a lot of legwork retrospectively now, and you're like, oh, thank God I watched Netflix.
Oh, it does. I'm piecing this world together with 3 different forms of media.
That's not confusing at all.
It's even better because a lot of these different ones contradict each other, because they're all slightly different, because the games are a sequel to the books, but they're not, they don't follow everything. Some characters are alive who shouldn't be, and some of the rules of magic are slightly different and stuff like that.
Is the TV show a prequel to the books?
It's an adaptation of the short stories, which came out before the books. Kind of like The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, right, okay.
So, next season of The Witcher show is probably going to be an adaptation of book 1.
And does that bode well? You've now seen book 1?
think so. I don't know. Looking back now, the Witcher show is not what I associate with The Witcher in my head anymore. It's the games.
That's what a lot of people did. I think more people have probably played the game than have even read the books.
Oh, definitely. That's not even a question.
Like, for me on Audible, something I was actually... I'm going to say something that maybe some book junkies will read this or listen to this and be quite outraged. So, big Lord of the Rings fan. I tried to listen to The Fellowship of the Ring on Audible.
Mm-hmm.
What a boring book. What a boring piece of drivel. Maybe the narrator's just not very enthused because he recorded it in 1973 or something. But it's not great. I can't. It's so much... It's like when I'm reading The Fellowship of the Ring, I'm actually reading the visual dictionary. And it's because it spends so much time describing the hobbits and their holes. And I've seen the films and I've seen the video breakdowns. I know it. And I'm like, oh, I can't be arsed. I just want to watch the film. And it's so boring. And it's ever since doing that, it's worried me to do that with other media. For instance, I've seen Harry Potter Inside and Out. I know the film's at the back of my hand. And I went and listened to the book, Stephen Fry. Fantastic. Did not ruin the experience for me one bit. Amazing. But now Lord of the Rings has done this to me. I'm scared to listen to A Song of Ice and Fire books. I'm scared to, even if I got into The Witcher in a heavier way and I did that one day, or I was going to listen to Stephen King's It eventually. I know that's apparently very different. So there's a little caveat there, but just all these things now have got me thinking maybe this interpretation is going to be really boring and I don't want to spend money on boring.
I can tell you the Witcher books are definitely not boring.
I heard they're quite accessible. Who's the narrator?
Peter Carey, someone I hadn't heard of. So,
but was he quite good at it?
Though.
He's very good, yeah.
He's very good at voices.
Right, voices I think is key. I know that makes us seem like babies. We need the entertainment, but it adds so much to the art form that it shouldn't be diminished. See if you can nail the voices, it sells it completely. Even a little sound effect.
It is weird though because obviously the voices in my head are from the games, so they're very different in the books, and I'm switching it in my head to the Geralt is his voice. You hear it all the time in the games because it's like a 100-hour game.
Yeah.
So that's Geralt in my head. But then in the books, he's voiced with a deep North English accent. He sounds like someone from Game of Thrones, and it's very weird.
I always try and make that disconnect when I'm listening to a book. It's like I'm listening to someone's interpretation, but then when had Harry Potter, Stephen Fry does a great job at trying to mimic the film voices. Unless it came to Dumbledore, he kind of tries to go for like his own Dumbledore. But he does a very good Hagrid, and Hagrid's quite a distinct voice, But yeah, I don't let that put me too off when someone's narrating it because I understand that someone is just trying to interpret it.
The interesting thing about the Witcher books too is that they're not originally written in English.
I think I knew this.
I think they're Polish.
I think they are Polish.
It's something you don't even notice when you're listening to it because it's been very well translated, but it's just something to think about. Like, wow, this isn't even in my original language.
You wouldn't even know it if you hadn't been told.
There is weird stuff too, like the pronunciations of some stuff in the books is different from in the games.
Just like the narrator has a different interpretation.
Well, the weirdest one is there's a bard character. The bard character in the show.
Oh, he sang the song
friend.
"Toss a Coin to Your Witcher."
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah.
That guy. So in the games, he's called Dandelion. That's his stage
That just
name.
makes me think of Orange is the New Black.
Is there a character called Dandelion in Orange?
No, but there's Crazy Eyes in it. She calls the main girl Piper Dandelion in like the first season because she tries to make her prison wife.
Oh, right, okay.
That was the whole thing.
Anyway, he's called Dandelion, but for some reason the narrator of the books pronounces it Dandelion.
Dandelion.
It's very weird.
That would almost make me think...
Dandelion's just a word,
yeah,
right?
That would almost make me think like that he's referring to something completely different.
It's the same character, he just calls him Dandelion.
Dandelion. And do they say Dandelion in the game?
They say Dandelion in the games, yeah.
Weird. It's not even like you've misread it either.
No.
Play the game, you faker, you fake narrator.
I think the narrations came out before the games.
Listen to the narration, you fake game developers.
make up your mind.
What are they going to call it in the TV show?
Oh, they don't call him Dandelion in the TV show. They use the Polish name, which is Jaskier, something like that.
Ah, right, okay.
I don't know why. I guess Dandelion was too gay for them.
It's pretty gay.
Anyway, yeah. So I've been very Witchered. So my intention now is to read through the books, and then I got the Game of the Year edition of Witcher 3,
you did.
and I'm going to play through. I'm going to play through again after reading the books.
You've said
to
this,
see
and
all the details I've missed.
I can't believe it because you need all that more gamer score. Kyle,
Look,
I think I can conclusively say that you have tossed not but one coin, but many coins to your Witcher.
I have tossed several coins to my Witcher. It's true.
He has a value of plenty just by Kyle.
I've been going back and forth on whether to recommend it to you. Friends not of the show, Harris.
Yeah.
I would recommend it to because he likes fantasy a lot more than you do.
As a game, yeah.
I just don't know if it's your kind of thing.
I can lose focus quite easily.
It's a very, very big game, but it's not. It doesn't have that barrier to entry that other games, as far as gameplay goes, not a story. It's a very simple game to play.
Yeah. That's half the battle. That is half the battle.
Yeah, and unlike a lot of RPGs where the dialogue systems are just endless and annoying, like I know you don't like that about the Outer Worlds when we tried to play that.
Yeah, I couldn't stick with Outer Worlds. I'm sorry.
It doesn't have a dialogue system like that, and it's helped a lot because you don't actually get a huge amount of choice in the games. They kind of play it so
it's like
that,
Mass Effect.
I think you get less choice even than in Mass Effect.
See, this game sounds great.
Basically, it's structured so that any choice you get is something that Geralt would say as a character. So it's not like Mass Effect where you've got the blue option and the red option.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I could totally do that.
I don't know if that's heresy to say, but the combat is fairly simple.
It's not Assassin's Creed.
It's well, Assassin's Creed is the simplest you can get, so...
Not in Unity.
It's not Assassin's Creed Unity, no.
No, see?
I don't know, man. Weirdly enough, I might recommend you listen to the books first.
Well, I had an Audible subscription. I got, So I
Can I just say as a quick tangent that Audible is one of the worst services I've ever used.
How dare you?
This episode not sponsored
Yeah,
by
I
Audible.
Kel, you got to understand the business we're in right now, and you're going to talk shit about someone that is known to sponsor thousands of podcasts, and you want us not to be one of them because you think it's a terrible service?
Look, I'm going to take this opportunity to bitch about Audible.
Look,
the fact that you can't buy books in the app is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever
You
seen.
used to not even be able to view books in the app. You know how you can view books on the app now, but you can't buy them? You used to not even be able to do that.
I think that's worse.
The app was...
that you can look at them but not actually
the
buy
app
them.
was just simply a medium to play them and download them. You couldn't even... I actually think browsing them is an improvement. I don't know, you can't do that on Prime either. You can be on the Amazon Prime app and you can't purchase, or even on the Amazon app on my iPad, I can't purchase things. I need to go into my desktop or on the browser to purchase things to view.
That's ridiculous. What is this backwards nonsense that Amazon's got going on?
I honestly could not tell you. It is weird, but you know what? I enjoy Audible. Audible's a great service, and I'm not going to say much more nice things because I would like a sponsorship one day.
Because Audible has a monopoly on audiobooks, and so they don't have to fix all this broken crap.
I think they are slowly improving stuff though to get more people in, because I think they will cap out eventually. Because, like, for instance, that's not a for instance. What I was going to say was going to be completely unrelated. I was just going to say nice things about them again. I'm sorry. Audible, I think, is a good service, and I think there's room for improvement, but I don't think it's like unusable as like a tool. I think it serves its functionality very well. Here's to many more years.
Obviously it works. I just think it's pretty crap.
I own Audible, and currently I gave up on Lord of the Rings. I own the first, because I thought I was going to love them, so I pre-bought the Fellowship of the Ring and the Dark Tower. Not the Dark Tower, the Two Towers. And then I was going to get Return of the King when I was done then. But I can't even finish the Fellowship to get to the Two Towers and then to get to I hate it. And I was going to do The Hobbit. Not happening. But I'm currently on a re-listen to... No, sorry, I've read 1984. I've actually read it. And then I was trying to do the Audible, and it's painful. I don't know, the narrator fits the tone of the book very, very well. But it's a
pretty depressing book to get through, even when you're just reading it.
Yeah, I suppose. But the narrator fits the tone very well, so it's not his fault. It's just it's a slog to get through. And I've also got... I used to be a big fan of listening to the Star Wars novels. And I got Catalyst, which was the prequel to Rogue One. I got the Force Awakens audiobook, and I think I got a couple other ones that aren't canon anymore, but Darth Vader. And I now own all 3 books in the New Timothy Zahn Thrawn trilogy. So it's like Thrawn, then Treason, then I think it's Alliance, and one of them's when he teams up with Darth Vader, and I think he remembers him from the Republic when he was Anakin. And I've heard these books are all great, and I know the narrator from these books because he's narrated Star Wars books for a long time, and he's very good. And I think the book starts with the Star Wars cue, so you're like, oh boy, here we go. And I think every once in a while, the books, I haven't listened to these 3 books at all yet, because I want to finish 1984, but I think if they're anything like the other Star Wars books I've listened to, every once in a while, they cut in a little bit of audio from a film, so if they're mentioning a TIE fighter screeching past, you'll kind of hear a dimmed TIE fighter. Yeah, or if you won't hear but maybe a hula blaster go off or something. And it's just like in the background and it's muted. The narrator is the primary thing that you hear, but it just gives you a little idea of what's going on, and I think it's really cool.
There was one that I wanted to... There's a couple Star Wars books that I would like to read eventually. One of them is the Ventress book.
Is that the one where she meets Mr. Yellowface Jedi with the yellow stripe on his face and they fall...
Tarzan Jedi.
And they fall in love?
I think... this is why I want to read it, because I don't know.
I'm sure they fall in love and then die, and she's like a...
Originally that story was supposed to be Clone Wars.
Yeah.
It got cancelled.
Now it's back again, but it's not all back again. There's so much still on the cutting room floor.
It's a shame. Clone Wars... Still a side tangent. Clone Wars Season 7, very good so far.
So I was wondering whether or not to mention it. I think we can talk about the Clone Wars so far, and I think we could do a whole episode, a whole special, because we're never going to not do them, on just the last 4. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Kyle and not friend of the show Harris, they have an understandable, like I get it, but it's infuriating to someone who doesn't do it, way of watching this show. They wait until an arc's finished, because it's 1 episode a week they release, before watching it all. So they'll wait, for instance, this last arc is 4 episodes, they'll wait until all 4 episodes are out before watching them. And for someone who watches them week by week, it's very infuriating, because I want to talk about it with them, and I can't. I've seen so many memes that I've had to save my phone because I can't put it in the chat, because it's got little screenshots that they don't know. And I have to share it with other people. It is infuriating, listener, but that's their choice. And this first...
I don't do it for 40-minute shows, but the 20-minute episodes are just
right,
not
the
enough.
The latest episode is half an hour.
Is it really?
I think there are going to be 4 half-an-hour long episodes. And I've only seen part 1. As we're recording this, only part 1 of the Siege of Mandalore arc is out, and I've watched it a couple of times now. It is brilliant, and I think that we're going to be led down a path that would definitely lead to being able to do an entire episode just talking about a 2-hour long film, essentially, because I think it's going to be a film. When it's all done, I think there'll be a way to watch this where it's all 4 parts strung together.
It's the final proper climax of the Clone Wars.
The final proper climax of the Clone Wars. I would, however, like to note, this man clearly from the Clone Wars is not the same man who slaughters younglings a few days later. It's not the same person, you know?
That's been a problem with the whole show, to be
on
fair.
rewatch of the Clone Wars, there's a lot of dark moments Anakin has. And I even think in this season, not including this episode that you haven't seen yet, but when...
Oh, sure, the first arc when he, spoiler alert,
Bad Batch,
kills the Spider-Man.
He kills Admiral Trench, who's been like a pain in their side since season 1, I believe.
And he's not in season 1. I think he shows up around season 3.
Oh yeah, so I'm thinking chronologically, it's all cut out of order, but Trench has been around early, chronologically. And I think this season has been very good, but it was also very consistent with the Clone Wars of seasons past. Like the Bad Batch, I think is a great episode. It's a great arc, very fun, but it's definitely in line with Clone Wars that we've seen before, which is not bad at all. Then the Ahsoka arc.
I don't know what you call that one.
And I don't know what you'd call it either. What do they call Martinez?
Something like that.
The Martinez arc, if that's the name. I think they're great, but there were other episodes from the Clone Wars that left on the cutting room floor that I think we could have had instead.
I wouldn't say instead of.
Well, I would like it all. I would have loved it all.
Yeah.
But if we're having, and I get they had to give us some time with Ahsoka. You know, you get some time with the clones and Anakin, and then you get some time with Ahsoka.
Well, you have to remember this is the first, in terms of Clone Wars, this is the first time we've seen Ahsoka since like season 5.
Yeah, so you need to catch up with her. I understand. Then this arc here, this final Siege of Mandalore arc, is kind of everything. And it is, and truly is, the build up of the Clone Wars. Like, unfortunately, we have Revenge of the Sith, so we kind of know where it all goes. But there is something about, despite knowing where it all goes, there's something about the Siege of Mandalore arc. You know, the Clone Wars always does their little preloads at the start of episodes, which is like a World War II newspaper realist giving an update.
Sure.
There's something about this episode that made it feel like we were coming to the climax of the Clone Wars and we're so excited to see what's going to happen, like we don't already know. And even though the art style's the same and the animation's technically the same, there was something different. Like, the entire reason that Filoni brought back this team was to do this final arc. The other stuff was on the side. Something just looks different, it sounds different, it feels different. Everything is just, it's a little bit more, it's like it's next level in terms of its design. But because you haven't seen it yet, I'll try to revert back to what we've both seen, and comparatively I can't even be as enthusiastic because I know what you've got coming. And this season has been very, very good. I've really enjoyed the Clone Wars back. It's some good television. It's some great Star Wars entertainment. Star Wars has a better track record on the small screen than it has in the large screen for a long time.
It really does. It's always upset. I understand it, but it always upsets when people say, "Oh, there's nothing of value here. It's just a kids' show." Because I've been going back and watching through the show again because it's been a while.
Yeah.
Even the first season, which I always had in my head is like, oh, season 1's a bit rough. It really isn't, actually. Even season 1 is very good.
Yeah, the Malevolence arc with General Grievous' big EMP.
I think it's just the movie that's kind of rough. The
movie is kind of rough, and I think that's, you know, they talk about film structure. If you don't catch your audience at the start of the film, you'll never catch them. And if you don't land it at the end of the film, they'll kind of come out having a bad taste, and the only part of a film that's kind of safe to be a bit weak is the middle. And I think
the primary problem with the film is they haven't quite figured out who Ahsoka is yet.
Well, apparently Dave Filoni claims he did, and he says everyone's going to hate her, she's going to be an annoying little shit, but they'll come to love her. He claims he had, but kind of like George Lucas, he claims he had everything figured out, whether he did or not, well, I don't know.
And she's definitely less annoying immediately in the show. Like, she doesn't call Anakin Sky Guy.
But 2008 that film came out. That was the first Star Wars film I ever saw in the cinema. And depending what time of the year it came out, I was either 9 or 10. But I'll say it was 9. Probably the perfect age for that film, to be honest with you. Sure. And I never grew up kind of thinking people didn't like the film until like the age of YouTube and the internet became like mainstream. And I was like, people didn't like that. And then I went back and kind of watched it, and you know what? It is a bit rough. And when you look at Ahsoka and that versus how you see her, like now, not even talking about Rebels, it's night and day people, and she's grown a lot. And it happens, you know, how her outfit changes, and even like she physically grows as a character model for the CGI department. She gets bigger.
It's one of the most interesting arcs across the Star Wars movies, or Star Wars media, just because there's so much. It's so long compared to the movies.
It has been very impressive to see that change over time, you know, because when I go back, like I've said, the film is a bit rough. Ahsoka's not the best character, but now she's a very great character.
Also, just her original design, just like the
tube top.
The tube top. It's just bad. It's just a bad design.
And you know what I think I like about this? They're giving George Lucas a lot of credit for this final season. I don't know. It's like when you watch a Star Trek show and they put Gene Roddenberry's name right at the end. It's like you're supposed to do that. At the end of the title sequence, like, you know, created by Gene Roddenberry, and then the episode starts. Had to put Star Trek in here somewhere. Having George Lucas being one of your title names getting a credit. I think it's nice. It feels like it belongs, because he was didn't really invent much or anything to do with Rebels, because that was what Disney wanted to do, or Resistance for the new sequel trilogy, because they apparently threw all his ideas out. But the Clone Wars was something he was heavily involved in. That was his show, and I think to see him still getting recognition is quite important. But Ahsoka as well, because I know that's Filoni's character, but George had to approve on some level. This was his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think that the fact that he apparently he's a big fan of The Mandalorian, and I hope that he likes new season of the Clone Wars. I haven't heard what he thinks of that yet, but it does feel like everything's coming full circle for his characters and for his legacy, essentially, because Rebels isn't his, the new trilogy isn't his, but the Clone Wars is.
Well, the movies, the sequel trilogy, I think, are, at this point, with all three of them out, kind of meaningless, and I'm probably not gonna... I have no motivation to go and rewatch any of them, really.
The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, or The Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah, they feel like they don't have anything weighty to them.
Yeah, so...
they feel corporate.
I can interject with a thought on that, because I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, actually. A lot of people say they don't like prequels, they don't like going back when you've got a franchise, you like to go forward, and I've always found that to be rather strange, because if you have a good, especially fantasy, it works very good with fantasy specifically, but if you're in a world like Star Wars, where when you first meet these characters in A New Hope, there's a world that's been lived in, a story that's been told, backstory to these characters, and Darth Vader was around the clone, you hear these things about the Clone Wars, and when one day you are to go back and then make the decision to explain those things, they will inherently feel connected to your point of origin, A New Hope and Empire and all that, because it is about those characters who existed in that trilogy. So those films feel connected. But then when you go to make sequels about new people, which the concept of making new things and being creative, that's fine and dandy and great, but it will always feel disconnected, because it is about something new and it's not about the thing that the main story was built around.
I'm not going to say that's my problem with it. The reason people don't like prequels is because the vast majority of prequels are bad, because prequels are very hard to write well in a way that doesn't... That's... You know, it's when you look at the Star Wars prequels, right, this happened before the original trilogy, because the technology looks completely different, and all of this stuff is just, it's visually completely different from the original trilogy.
I've never had that problem with the aesthetic of the prequels. I think the aesthetic of because I actually don't think the original trilogy we see very much of anything. I think it's very good at hiding the universe. I think everything's kind of ragtag outlawed. A proper society existing. When I watched the original trilogy, it never seemed that far flung to me. I know the special editions added a bunch of CGI shit to make it feel more in line, Edmund and Boo and everything at the end. But I don't know. The prequels, from an aesthetic standpoint, have never seemed disconnected to me. I've always completely believed that Tatooine from A New Hope can exist in Coruscant and the Phantom Menace. I think they completely exist in the same world.
I'll agree to disagree with you on that one. Regardless of that, I think the prequels are a more interesting setting than the original trilogy. They're just bad movies.
Yeah, you can have a great concept with poor execution.
That's why the Clone Wars works so well as a show.
Yeah.
But the problem with the sequels is they don't feel like, anyway, they have an idea behind them. They feel like what they are, which is movies made to cash in on Star Wars.
The sequel trilogy?
Yes, the sequels.
Yeah.
The prequels at least feel like George Lucas had an idea.
Like he wanted to tell that story because it was his.
Yeah. As opposed to the sequels where, I mean, The Force Awakens is just A New Hope again.
In broad strokes. To a point, I will try and defend The Force Awakens, but I will never say it's not a corporate machine to make money for Disney. That's exactly what it is. But I do think there are a number of differences in the details of The Force Awakens. Whether or not you care is, again, a different story.
Talking about the sequels, speaking of The Mandalorian, though, speaking of The Mandalorian and Ahsoka, got news in that department.
Please. Oh, yeah, sorry, I know where you're going with this. I don't know why I was pretending I didn't know. I know exactly what you're on about. We apparently have a casting.
It's almost it felt... I didn't realise it was real, because people have been talking about this casting for years.
Yeah, it was always fan casting. It was like Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool. Like they wanted to bring him back from Wolverine Origins to like properly play.
We
that.
are, of course, talking about Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka in The Mandalorian.
And I've heard rumours that contract stipulations say that it's just for season 2, so there's no guarantee she'll ever come back again.
Well, I thought there was rumours about them making a new show that was a sequel to Rebels.
Yes, I've heard rumours of that too. But this is 5 years after Return of the Jedi. I would suspect she's still out trying to hunt for Ezra with Sabine. I honestly don't have a clue what she's doing in The Mandalorian. Apparently they found Ezra within like a couple of years.
Well, I guess we'll find out. It's going to be interesting because Ahsoka is just Ashley Eckstein in my head.
Yes, exactly.
And I just can't imagine someone else in that role. So even though I think people wanted Rosario Dawson because she looks the part.
Yeah.
I think that's the primary reason.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, she's a fine actress, but
she's not Ashley Eckstein.
Exactly.
I've heard business reasons as to why maybe they didn't want Ashley Eckstein, and also why Ashley Eckstein will not have a problem. So, first of all,
well, she's a voice actor.
Voice actor, primary thing. Maybe not the best on-screen talent. Also, she's also a businesswoman. She has a fashion brand for kind of like sci-fi outfits for ladies.
Does she? I didn't know this.
Like kind of fashionable branding sci-fi stuff. And she's got them, and I believe she's got them in Disney theme parks, and she's kind of cornered the market in that perspective that she's competing at a higher level than anyone else that does that, because it's an underserved market apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And because she wants to keep her business relationships with Disney nice and neat, she isn't going to complain that she isn't getting the role of Ahsoka.
I mean, just because it's her voice, it's not her face, so...
Maybe they'll get her to dub Rosario Dawson, and it'll be really jarring.
That would be hilarious.
She'll say Sky Guy.
Mando Guy.
Hey, Mando Guy. I wonder if she's going to have her white cloak from Rebels.
Probably. I don't know why where did she get that white cloak?
Maybe she was Gandalf the White.
I have no idea where they're going to take, because apparently at some point between then and The Rise of Skywalker, she died.
Yeah. I saw people on Twitter try to defend it. That didn't mean she had to be dead. Everyone else that spoke was dead. She's dead.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that, but presumably they're going to explain that at some point.
They're going to tell us how she dies.
They're going to do it terribly, like Star Trek Picard. Oops, did I bring up Star Trek?
Oh well.
She's going to get mercy killed in a dirty basement.
No, she's going to come back in like a battle droid body. as a B1 battle droid. She's going to die on like G-nurses.
No, she has to die where she began because it's poetic. Wherever that planet was in the movie. Yeah.
I know names. I know the names, Kyle.
Yeah, I don't know where they're going with Ahsoka. Because in Rebels, she's kind of grey Jedi warrior, but then when she comes back at the end, she's like an old sage now with a cloak and a staff.
It's like they're going to hunt for Ezra. To what end, I don't know. What the hell's going to happen with Ezra? I think Ezra could still be alive by the time of The Rise of Skywalker. And
presumably he's with Thrawn.
But he's the Force, so maybe Ezra's still alive and Thrawn doesn't. You know, Thrawn's dead. Thrawn didn't have the Force. Thrawn couldn't survive.
I hope not, because Thrawn's awesome.
Thrawn is awesome.
The best part of Rebels.
Not Rook.
Rook. You'll have to find them, Rook.
Warwick Davis's finest performance.
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars?
Clone Wars. We got completely off. We were talking about Clone Wars.
I'm surprised Thrawn hasn't cameoed in the Clone Wars.
It does seem quite obvious because he was around.
He was around,
right?
and as canon, he wasn't a Grand Admiral by any means, but he was definitely in the Republic Navy.
He was peers with Yularen, maybe.
Yeah, someone like that. Because I know that there's a story from one of the Thrawn novels that Timothy Zahn wrote that's canon, that he did briefly team up with Anakin Skywalker during the Clone Wars.
What is the reason that they limited this season of Clone Wars to 12 episodes?
To finish it on Star Wars Day. I don't know. Probably I have no reason to believe. I don't have a basis to put this on, but could you imagine if it was just because they somehow thought that people weren't going to respond to it well?
That would be ridiculous. Because we've been talking about all these episodes that ended on the cutting room floor, and I've just been thinking, but why though? Why didn't they just make a full season?
One thing that's kind of got critics underwhelmed is because they know that fans have already... they're not... because these critics aren't big Star Wars people, but they already know that all these episodes were kind of released years ago on StarWars.com before even The Force Awakens came out.
Yeah, like the unrendered versions.
Yeah, like the Bad Batch, I've seen that before. The one where they steal the Kyber crystal, I've seen that before. And I think a lot of critics that aren't Star Wars fans don't think there's going to be much of a return. Like, they don't want to bother reviewing the season because they think, well, people have seen these years ago, so who's going to watch it now?
I mean, obviously there's a difference between unrendered drafts and the actual finished product.
I completely agree with you, by the way. I think they should have brought us everything back, gave us a full-blown season. But maybe this was like their side hustle because they're really working on the sequel to Rebels that isn't Resistance.
Rest in peace, Resistance. No one watched you.
Rip Resistance. I watched the first 2/3 of season 1.
I've never even tried it. It looks too kiddie.
It's not the greatest. I think Poe Dameron's in it and Oscar Isaac voices him, but he's like only in 2.
That's shocking to me that they brought Oscar Isaac.
But he's only in like 2 episodes.
Oscar Isaac, I tell you what, they're probably not going to bring him back again.
No, like I think Captain Phasma's in it briefly. There's also like there's a gold Captain Phasma. There's a Captain Phasma character, but the armor's gold and it's a guy. I don't know the name of the person.
Captain Phasma.
I think Kylo Ren's in like the season finale or something because it lines up with The Force Awakens. But
I'm sure Princess Leia shows up as well.
No, maybe. No, I'm thinking of Force.
I'm pretty sure that General Organo or General Organa? General Oregano. Even though apparently she was a Jedi the whole time.
I don't have a problem with it. I always assumed at some point she was going to get trained. I just inferred that from a young age, and then Return of the Jedi. I was like,
we've already spent too much time talking. Some would say a monstrous amount of time talking about the Rise of Skywalker.
I'm still waiting on getting my delivery for that. By the way, fans of Nathan's Amazon imports, I pre-ordered the steel bookcase 4K of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker back in February, and it wasn't going to come out until late March, and that's fine, but then I believe all shipping was delayed until 20th of April. It's currently the 19th, and I'm just thinking, I ordered this 2 months ago, and I'm still waiting. Pandemic aside.
Are you going to watch it when you get it?
I've got all the other films, that's primarily why I bought it, and I've got the light side sleeve for The Force Awakens, and I idiotically bought the dark side sleeve for The Last Jedi, and then if you buy the steel bookcase for The Rise of Skywalker, it's both sleeves on each side. But embossed, obviously. So I thought, I'll buy the steel bookcase, and it's like I've got everything. It all balances, like the Force.
Perfectly balanced. All things should be. So wait, that's the wrong movie.
That's from a better franchise.
Oh, snap!
Snap, crackle, and pop. I think you just popped the mic there.
It's fine. I'll cut it in post.
Great.
Saints Row 3 is getting a remaster. Sorry, Saints Row the Third is getting a remaster. It's strange.
Saints Row the Third is getting a remaster, and Kyle thinks it should be Saints Row 2. I happen to not have a strong opinion on it, but Saints Row the Third was the first one. I think I might have played Saints Row 1 on a GameCube once, millennia ago. But the first one...
I don't think it had a GameCube release.
A Saints Row version definitely had a GameCube launch. Don't know if it was the first one or the second one, but it was definitely a GameCube launch for a Saints Row game.
I'm pretty sure the first one was... It was early Xbox 360.
You can look it up. I'm sure I played it on GameCube.
I think you're full of shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kyle's going to Google it.
I'm Googling it right now because I think that's nonsense. GameCube was dead before the 360 came out. And where am I going to find this?
I just typed in Saints Row GameCube because I forgot to put a C. This is great for audio medium.
Platforms. Xbox 360, Xbox One, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Microsoft, Windows, Linux, mobile phone, Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I'm looking at that as well.
Ain't no fucking GameCube there.
I'm sure I played it on GameCube.
You're full of nonsense.
Right, fine. Okay, I played it on some old console. I could swear I played it on a GameCube. I've been lied to. At some point, I played Saints Row on an older console, but the first one I ever properly played was Saints Row the Third, and that's the one where my heart kind of lies. I went back and played 1 or 2, but I honestly couldn't tell you much about what happened. I remember I must have enjoyed them enough to finish them. I usually don't finish games I hate. I must have definitely liked the first one to play the second one, and then I went back to the third, which I loved dearly, and then I played the fourth when that came out. I was bitterly disappointed, because as much as Saints Row likes to push the boundaries, I think Saints Row the Third went as far as you can go without taking the piss. I think the fourth one was just too much, to be honest with you.
Looking back on it, I can't actually believe that Saints Row
too
4
much.
is a real game.
Yeah,
it feels like a fever dream.
The Saints Row 4 is too much for me, and I think a lot of people probably at the time thought 3 was too much.
I don't think 3 is too much. It's just a different direction for the franchise. I never played that's all.
Get Out of Hell or Agents of Mayhem or whatever.
I've played both of those. Get Out of Hell is a crap, not worth your time, basically. Although it does have a slightly more interesting setting than Saints Row 4.
Kyle, you say that you have deducted a reasoning as to why that Saints Row 2 isn't getting the remaster and Saints Row the Third is. Tell listeners.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you said you thought you knew why that they were remastering the third and not the second.
Oh, there's a couple reasons. One of them that I've seen a lot in the comments, I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently they don't have the source code for Saints Row 2. They've lost it at some point.
That's not very professional.
So apparently that would make it significantly more difficult to make a remaster because, so that's possibly one of the reasons. I don't even know if that's true or not, but the other one is that after Saints Row 2, THQ made Red Faction Armageddon, which destroyed their company.
Is that what killed them? Wow.
Yeah, that's what killed them. So after that, it passed to Deep Silver, and Deep Silver are the ones who made Saints Row 3. Sorry, Saints Row, fucking stupid name. Saints Row the Third. And so that's their first game, and that's the one that they want to remaster. I mean, I like Saints Row the Third. I don't want to give the impression that I don't like it. I just prefer
and you think
Saints
Row the Third doesn't really need a remaster, where you think Saints Row 2 and definitely 1 would probably greatly benefit from like a Halo 2 treatment?
I was going to say that, but then I was looking at screenshots of Saints Row the Third. Wow, this game has aged way more than I thought it
has
had.
Aged, but I still think it looks nicer than 2 or 3. You sent me those screenshots to compare Johnny Gat over the games, and I think you honestly said you preferred the look of 2 than to 3. I think he looks absolutely horrific, and I think he looks better in 1. Johnny Gat looks horrific in Saints Row the Second.
It's because Saints Row 2 was trying to do realistic, but it was trying to do realistic in 2010, so...
2010 was a great year for realism. That's where we got the realistic Halo game.
Okay, have you looked at the Halo Reach recently, though? Come on.
And it's a wonderful game.
Take off your rose-tinted glasses.
Game, Kyle.
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, take off your rose-tinted glasses here. It doesn't look realistic.
Shh! Halo Reach is the best looking, best playing, best sounding game ever.
You're full of nonsense.
Leave response in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Do you agree with me or do you agree with Kyle?
The one that put me over for the remaster on Saints Row was they just shared a little gif of Burt Reynolds.
Did they?
And he looks pretty bad in the original release.
Burt Reynolds is in Saints Row?
He's the mayor in Saints Row the Third. Do you not remember this? I thought this was your favorite Saints Row game. They go to the mayor's office and your character shouts, Burt fucking Reynolds. Because Burt Reynolds is the mayor.
Play that game, man. It's my.
Well, you'll get a chance.
Yeah,
May 22nd.
Plug.
This episode's sponsored by Saints Row the Third.
Remastered. So, no, I like Saints Row, and the third is definitely my favourite, but as a franchise overall, I don't remember much about it. But Burt fucking Reynolds is a great hook.
The third game has the zombie island and
I remember the zombie island
with the laser guns.
I remember Stag. I remember having the VTOL. I remember having a penthouse suite.
It's a bit much for me. I still like it.
It has quite a good bit of scale, doesn't it? Like when you go up to like their massive flying helicarrier that Avengers stole from them. When that happens, like, isn't there actually like travel time? Like, you don't just jump in the VTOL and you're there in 2 seconds. You're actually watching yourself flying up.
A little bit.
I remember
you only get that if you choose to let Shondi die.
I've done both
seems
endings.
Like a weird choice. I've done both as well, but obviously.
So yeah, and I remember that I maxed out all my stats, so I was invincible to bullets and everything and fall damage. I remember the only thing you couldn't be invulnerable to unless you used cheats was punches.
Yes.
So eventually, the only place that I could die was the zombie island. So I used to go to the zombie island just to,
just to feel pain again.
Just to feel pain. So I felt those stakes. It was boring running around the streets fighting gangs and fighting the police.
It's weird. It's weird. I mean, I'm gonna get it. Obviously, that's 1,300 gamer score sitting right there, and also I enjoy it.
Oh, you do enjoy it, even though it's not your favorite. You don't think it's a bad game.
Unlike, I don't know if I can call Saints Row 4 a bad game. I don't know if I can do that. Like, there's clearly love and care put into it. It's just mess. It's such a weird game too because it's deeply self-referential to the previous games, all the way back to Saints Row 1. It's full of references to the first game, but it's nothing like the first game. It's so weird to reference back to that game and say, "Look, this is where we came from," even though we're fighting aliens in a Matrix simulation.
You gotta stay true to your roots, Kyle.
It's nonsense, though. It doesn't stay true at all.
Johnny Gat does or doesn't die.
He got kidnapped by aliens.
Yeah, but we were at the time we're believed that he's dead, right?
I'm going to continue to believe he's dead. Apparently, this remaster is being done by a different company, while Deep Silver is working on a new Saints Row game.
Saints Row 5?
Probably, and for the love of God, I hope that the first 5 minutes are your character waking up from a dream that was Saints Row 4.
Saints Row isn't above doing that.
I don't think it's above doing that at all, no.
But it depends how protective they are of the IP.
How many people do you think are going to be really mad if that happens?
I don't think many, to be honest with you. Maybe a couple of friends that really like the idea of the US presidency.
It's just nonsense. It's absolute nonsense.
It's not worth its time. I never finished Saints Row 4. I just ended up kind of getting annoyed with it.
I've 100%ed it twice because that's what I do.
Kyle needs the gamer score, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, the best part of doing that is there's an achievement in each of the Saints Row games, which goes up with each game. So in Saints Row 2, it was play the game for 20 hours, and then in Saints Row the third, it was 30 hours. So then, of course, in the fourth game, it was 40 hours. There is not 40 hours of content in Saints Row 4.
Yeah, but running around killing people is what you want.
But even in that game, they ruined it because once you get, like in any game since GTA, you've got the star system for the police, right? Yeah. It goes up. So in Saints Row 4, when you get to the max, a boss shows up, and when you kill the boss, your notoriety goes down to 0 again.
Oh, how fun! I get the game concept behind doing that.
It makes running around causing chaos actually way less fun though, because every so often it just resets.
You just don't kill the boss.
No, you have to. The boss shows up and all the normal enemies despawn.
Oh right, okay. That sounds less fun. The thing I didn't like about Saints Row 4 was when you got superpowers, you didn't have to use guns or vehicles ever again.
Oh no, vehicles become absolutely pointless.
It's such a shame.
It's the weirdest thing about it is it's one of the best superhero games.
Yeah. It's a shame it gives you the option to use other things.
It's weird. Saints Row, a very strange franchise.
And we can't wait for more.
It's been a very games-heavy episode.
It has been a very games-heavy episode. We touched on tech.
Touched on Star Wars.
I don't really think we're done. Have we done it? Have we done it? Have we done a regular ep, Kyle?
We have done a regular episode. Next episode, we'll probably be talking about the Clone Wars finale.
Tune in for our next special.